welcome back to my channel. My name is Beula Thomas. It's so great that you've joined me on this video because today it's going to be all about food. I just want to welcome anyone who is new here. If you've never seen my videos before or you've just started following me, just want to say welcome. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you haven't yet and turn your notifications on. So every week after the groceries arrive towards the end of the week, I block out some time to do some meal prepping and menu prepping for the week ahead. And this might involve sometimes just chopping up fruit and veg, maybe making some meals ahead of time, or just prepping the ingredients that I need for that particular meal. And I just focus on the first 3 days of the week because that's when it's the most busiest. Once we hit like Thursday, everybody gets into the weekend mode, right? So what I thought was I'll record the whole thing so you can sort of get an idea of what I do, and then you can adapt that for your life and then see where you can help yourself to have a great week by just taking a few hours. It might take 2 hours max, maybe 3, depending on what you're preparing. So today we're just going to do some fruit and veg prep. I'm going to make a couple of things like granola. I also need to prep some things like some meat and also some rotis and things like that. So I'm going to record the whole thing and I hope you enjoyed this content. Don't forget to give this video a like and do leave me a comment below and let me know how you menu plan or meal prep over the weekend, just so you can have a good week as well. Or if you've got some suggestions, drop it down in the comment section below, so that'll help me or it might help someone else watching this video too. Let's begin by prepping some fruit and veg. By taking some time over the weekend to chop up a few vegetables to cook later in the week, or to toss through a salad or put in your sandwich or wrap, or in my case I'm going to use them in my kids' lunch boxes during the week, you will save time, especially in the morning when you're trying to get out the door. So if you've got lots going on, this is definitely something that I recommend. Chop up your veg, that'll stay well. I usually store mine in a glass container and that stays fine. The other thing I also like to do is to chop up some fruit. Watermelon is just in season and sort of fading out at the moment, but we've been loving it. So I just buy watermelon and chop it up like this, store it in a container and pop it in the fridge, and our family goes through a lot more fruit now just because I do this little prep. So I highly recommend this if you think you need to up the amount of fruit that your family is eating right now. Chop it and store it in the fridge and they definitely will eat a lot more fruit too. Alright, the next thing that we're going to make is my all-time favorite. It's a homemade granola recipe. After you make this, I can assure you, you will not love the store-bought version because this one is so delicious and full of great things. The first thing that you need to do is to preheat your oven to about 180 Celsius. And then the next thing is, in a oven-proof dish, add about 3 cups of rolled oats, not quick oats, alright? So 3 cups of rolled oats. And the next thing that I'll add, I'll just run through the list. I might not do the same order in the video, but I'll just go through the list so you can write it down. So after 3 cups of rolled oats, we add in 1 1/4 cup of shredded coconut. Next, I'm going to add in some chopped nuts. So you need about 1 1/4 cups of nuts. And you can use a bunch of different nuts to make up this whole quantity. So the nuts that I'm using are like cashews. You can use pecans, walnuts, almonds. So whatever nuts you've got in your pantry. You can even use Brazil nuts. Just chop it up a little bit and then add it all in because you want to fill up this granola with all the good things, right? So add in 1 1/4 cup of a variety of nuts. gonna add in 1/3 cup of seeds. I'm choosing pumpkin. You can also use sunflower, so go with whatever you've got in your pantry, and let's just toss that in. Next, we're gonna add in some salt, so we'll need 1/2 teaspoon of salt, so add that into the mix as well. Need 1 cup of dried fruits next. So just like what I did with the nuts, I'm going with a variety of dried fruits. So all I had in the pantry was some dried apricots, cranberries, raisins. I also had some dates. So I grabbed them all out and I'm gonna chop them up because I don't want them to be huge and chunky in the granola. I just want them bite-sized. And then I'm gonna put them all together in a 1 cup measurement, and then I'll add it into the bowl. So this is something again that you can add in a lot of variety into your granola, like we did with the nuts. You can add in different types of dried fruit just to add a lot of flavor, and it's obviously going to be really delicious. So I highly recommend doing this instead of just sticking to one little dried fruit option. Next, we're going to add in about 1/2 teaspoon of cinnamon powder. If you live in the States, you can use pumpkin spice powder or apple spice powder, or cinnamon powder is just fine as well. Now that we've got all of our dry ingredients in the bowl, just use a spoon and just give it all a really good mix before we add in the liquid ingredients to finish it all off. That everything is mixed up, it's now time to add the 2 liquid ingredients. So you can add in 1/2 cup of maple syrup like I am, or you could use 1/2 cup of honey. So either one, 1/2 cup maple syrup or 1/2 cup of honey. And then the next ingredient is 1/3 cup of oil. I like using coconut oil in my granola just because of the flavor that it gives. So definitely use that. If not, you could use regular vegetable oil. Please don't use olive oil because it will not taste good. All right, so stick to coconut oil if you can, like I do, because you'll definitely love the flavor that it gives. The next thing that I'm making is another breakfast option as well. This is a chia and oat pudding that you can make ahead on a Sunday afternoon, and it'll be perfect on a Monday morning, and it'll also be perfect on a Thursday. It's just full of just delicious yumminess that'll keep you going on a busy work day. So what I need are some ingredients. As you see here, I'll walk you through them. And the main thing I need are some glass containers. I didn't go out and buy a brand new set for this. I just reused what I had in the pantry. So just recycle some glass jars and use them to make these chia and oat puddings. So the first thing that I'm putting in is about 3 tablespoons of rolled oats, or you can even use quick oats. So you put that in the bottom first. Next, add in 1 tablespoon of chia seeds into each of these jars. Add in 1/3 cup of milk. I'm going with coconut milk. You can use oat milk or almond milk or regular cow's milk. So go with whatever you usually use to put into these chia puddings. I'm just giving it a little shake so the ingredients can settle down before I move on to the next ingredient. You can also just let it sit on the counter for a few minutes before you move on to the next step. Next, I'm adding in some nuts. I'm just eyeballing the measurement, so I don't have a particular quantity. Go with your favorite choice of nuts. So I think I went with walnuts and almonds. They definitely add a yummy crunch to it. After that, I added in some fruit. I went with frozen fruit. So the packet here I'm using has a combination of different berries. Definitely recommend using frozen fruit if you're thinking what kind of fruit to add in. They lasted really well in the jar through the entire week. The other thing that you can add to this pudding just to add a little bit of flavor are some coconut flakes. Again, just eyeball the measurement. Just when you're adding in the nuts, add some of that too. Right now, I'm adding the next ingredient, which is about 1/3 cup of Greek yogurt into every single jar. If you don't have Greek yogurt, just use regular yogurt and it'll just taste fine. So I'm going through every single jar and just adding that in. After I've done the yogurt, I finish it off with about 1 teaspoon of maple syrup. I'm not sure if I would substitute maple syrup to honey. So if you can get maple syrup, that'll be really good because it just brought the whole pudding together. While I was making the chia oat puddings, the granola was cooking really nicely in the oven. I wish you could smell this because it was so yum. One other thing that I like to prep at the start of the week is some roti dough or chapati dough. I tend to put this into a food processor and combine it together, but I did not want to bring the machine onto the counter. So I'm just putting it into a little bowl here to show you quickly how I do it. So as you saw, I just added in some flour. I eyeball this recipe because I make it every single week. So really into a bowl, you just add in some whole wheat flour. I'm adding some salt. I also add in a little bit of ghee or clarified butter, or you can add some oil, or you can even leave it out. And then I like to add some warm water into it. And then I just use my hands in this particular situation, or your food processor could do it. And you just bind it up together into a nice smooth dough. Now that the dough has come together, I'm just going to add a little bit of coconut oil into the container that I'm going to store the dough in, just so it sort of sits there nice and smooth and doesn't dry out. And once I put the oil through there, I'm just going to roll out golf-size dough balls, chapati dough balls, and then I'm just going to plunk it into that container, put the lid on it, and I'll just put it into my fridge. I don't let it sit for the entire week because chapati or roti dough will sit well in the fridge for about a day to 2 days. I don't let it go longer, but by doing this on a Sunday, or even if I'm going to do this in the middle of the week, just to carry me through towards the end of the week, that means I'll save about 20 minutes of just prepping this together, because I like to leave the dough to sit for a little bit before I roll it out, before I cook it. And so by just having this ready to go, all I have to do is probably just make a curry to go with it. Or if I prep the curry, I really just need to cook the roti. So I save a whole lot of time when it comes to dinner time and the kids are hungry. Alright, let's move on to the meat prep. I've left it towards the end, so if you're a vegetarian, you might want to forward this section on, or you can watch along as well. So what I'm doing here is when I buy meat in bulk, so for example, this packet on the counter here is about 1 kg of chicken nibbles, which I'm not going to use in one meal. So what I do in that particular situation is I just grab a bunch of Ziploc bags, and on each bag I put down the date in which this meat was bought, which is what I've just done here. And then I pull out the pieces of meat that I need, and I store them in individual Ziploc bags, and then I put it into the freezer. By splitting it up like this, what I do is I have meat ready to go for individual meals. If I had frozen the entire packet, when I would pull it out of the freezer, I'll have to thaw the entire thing out, and then I have to use it that way. So this is just a little mum hack. Divide up your meat if you're doing a bulk buy, put the date on the packet, and then when you need some meat for a dish, they are ready to go, and you can just go into the freezer and grab it and thaw it out in the fridge. Some people I know do it over the counter, but I like to thaw it out in the fridge for the day or leave it overnight, and then I have it ready to go for a meal for the kids. Like these nibbles, I can fry, I can bake, I can toss it into a soup or through pasta or whatever. It's ready to go. Another thing that I like to bulk make every few weeks are some chicken dumplings for my kids. Our children love them. They really do. So I just go to the Asian store and I buy those dumpling wrappers that I just showed. And then I just use a really easy, basic recipe. I know there are tons of awesome recipes online, but what I really do is I just use chicken mince like I've got there, and then I add in a bunch of ingredients to it. So I'm just adding in some shredded cabbage to it. That's my veggie option. You can go with carrots, or you can add spinach, or you could add in, peas, corn, whatever your kids like, but I just like to add in some cabbage. I also then season it with a bunch of little different things, like I use salt and pepper, of course. I use some soy sauce, which I'm adding it in. I like to use some ginger. I also pop in some chopped up spring onion as well, and then I just give it all a good toss. As I told you, it's just really basic ingredients. You can use ginger powder, or you can even use minced ginger, and the kids will just love it. It's a really filling lunch or dinner option, and it's really yummy and so different than when you would buy it from the frozen section. So if you haven't given it a try, I really hope you do. It's really, really easy to do. So usually I put this together on a Saturday afternoon or a Sunday afternoon, and then after the kids have gone to bed, when we're watching a movie, that's when I make the dumplings together. I'm not really good at making it without a dumpling mold, so I do use it to make my dumplings together. Right everyone, that brings us to the end of this video. I hope my little meal prep gave you a little bit of inspiration to plan your week ahead. I can tell you, by doing this over a Saturday or even a Sunday afternoon, you will save tons and tons of time during the week. Do let me know how you're going to meal prep, or if you've got any questions about my meal prep or my recipes, pop it out in the comment section below. I look forward to hearing from you and also seeing you next week with a brand new video. Until then, stay safe and happy cooking.